Okay, so our next example of a signaling pathway is growth factor signaling pathway. So here is a diagram showing what's happening there. Oops. So growth factor here is our signaling molecule. So we can kind of see there's lots of different proteins involved, and usually we use 3 letters to denote the name of a protein. So we have this EGF and sometimes 4 EGFR. So these are just different protein names. So it says upon binding of epidermal growth factor, EGF, to the EGF receptor, EGFR, 2 proteins associated with this receptor called GRB2 and SOS activate RAS, a small G protein. So what this is happening is you can think about these 2 proteins. They're transmembrane proteins. They span that membrane here. They are able to move because remember that that cell membrane is fluid because we have that fluid mosaic model. So these will move whenever the 2 of these will come into contact. That's going to signal that interaction with that GRB2 and the SOS and then the RAS, and it will activate this. So that's what this is telling us. So it's going to usually be started though by that growth factor binding to one of these receptors. So, and then we can see here what happens, and we're going to have different proteins being activated. So a protein kinase called RAF is activated, and so here we can see RAF is active. That means it's going to take MEK, which is another protein, and turn it into a phosphorylated MEK. So it's adding a phosphate. That's what a kinase does. So it's going to phosphorylate MEK, and then that in turn is going to phosphorylate ERK. So this is a phosphorylation cascade where we have one thing phosphorylating something else, which will phosphorylate something else, and it just keeps going. And then finally we get to the response. So ERK, once it's phosphorylated, is going to enter the nucleus, and it will trigger the cellular response. And this response here is that it's going to inhibit apoptosis, so prevent the cell from dying. It's going to stimulate cell proliferation, so having the cell divide. It's going to stimulate cell migration and adhesion, and angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels. And that's what growth factor does. Here's another way showing another diagram that shows the exact same thing. So again, we have growth factor binding as a ligand to our receptor. We have these 2 interacting with each other. And then we have growth factor. Notice here it's a lot more simplified and we don't have all those names of those proteins. So just don't get confused if those protein names are included. We can just follow and read through what is affecting what and just keep going. We have a phosphorylation cascade again. So we're phosphorylating different things, and the response here, it's going to impact translation. And here it's going to impact transcription. So different responses associated with that same one growth factor. And I have a couple videos that you can also watch to help you visualize what's happening in this as well.